not sure I understand it, but everything seems brighter now than before. I don't know why I feel this way, but every time I hear your name, all my worries disappear, yeah. It's all because of you. I feel the way I do. You make my dreams come true.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us back here again tonight. We have a special date going on. It's 2/22/22, if y'all have not heard. And as we were coming on air, and even before then, probably last night, I had begun to think about how many people will actually, by the time we go on air, have gotten married as a result and the significance of the day. And so I do know one couple who took advantage of getting married today. They happen to be family, my cousins. So do want to shout them out and say congratulations to them. They had a small private ceremony today. Didn't get to attend because, as always, I'm here preparing for the show with the team for you all, but I do want to shout them out. But today, what I'm thinking, because there's a lot that we have to get to from discussing who are the newest police officers who will be on our streets protecting and serving us. The dispatch took a very deep dive into the background of those officers, and we need to talk about that too. As I was on my way to Walmart today, I found out that gas is $3.40. So gas prices are going up all around the country. Definitely got to talk about that because it's a crying shame for the reason why it's going up to even begin with, and it's not even our fault. Uh, right now in the Ohio House, Republicans have just passed a law that is related to protesting and rioting here in the state, and it is making its way to the state senate. We're going to talk about that, to the Columbus City Schools Facility Master Plan. What is it? What all does it entail? And they've been having these meetings and working groups visiting and taking tours of the school for a little over a year, and now it's getting ready to come before us for a vote, which means our taxes will go up. You probably heard me allude to that a little bit last night when I was covering the story on the substitute teachers, and I kept referring to they have an issue that is about to come before us on the ballot for us to take a vote on, and that's this here facilities master plan. So we have to have a conversation about that tonight, as well as in the state house right now being debated is a historic, huge criminal justice reform bill, but The question is it really criminal justice reform? Because this bill that's up for a debate right now has been a work in progress for the last 5 years. So we're going to talk about all of that. But what I want to start off today talking about is it's been something very heavy on my mind these last couple of days, really, even these last few weeks and months, and that is what is going on. What is going on? And I'm a little perplexed right now about what's going on in our city. Everything from the crime to the homelessness to the housing crisis going on. And what do I mean when I say the housing crisis that's going on? Well, right now, for all of you that don't realize it and you can't see what's right in front of you, we're in the midst of a housing crisis because the market rate is soaring very high right now. And out of town investors are coming in, and even people here locally coming in, fixing up houses and raking up the prices on rent. So, what was once deemed as affordable housing now is what they are calling affordable housing, but it's not really affordable housing because they are making the rent $1,500 and $2,000. But the problem becomes when you make the rent and you set your prices that high, either 1,500, 1,800, or $2,000, is now you have to make three times the amount of what they are asking for. And in reality, right now, who is making three times $1,500 a month right now? Now, and don't get me wrong, I know a ton of people from people in the executive level to business owners to people working at McDonald's. I know a lot of those people, and I happen to love a lot of those people and have good relationships with them. And the problem is that we are all facing, and yes, I said that we are all facing, myself included, is we're all still robbing Peter to pay Paul in some way, because just as soon as we have reached the level of being able to afford something, now the prices go up. So that leads me and led me to ask the question that I first started with a few moments ago: is what is going on? So yes, we got all that going on, but then on the flip side of that, we got to look at this problem with Columbus City schools that is going on, and all of the violence that's going on. You could not imagine how many, and this year alone, how many students are bringing guns to school. Not only how many students are bringing guns to school, but how many fights are being breaking out, and there's nothing really that can be done about it. We ran a story last month in December entitled "What in the Hell is going on?" And at the in that story, school board president Jennifer Adair even asks that question: "What's going on? What more do we expect of school leaders and school officials to deal with us having all of these problems that boils all over into one problem after another problem, goes into what we talked about yesterday here on Nightly News, and that is to for every action you have, there is a reaction, meaning there is a for every cause there is an effect. Essentially, so what exactly is going on? How can we fix our school systems? How can we fix this housing crisis? I don't have any of these answers. If you're sitting here thinking that I do, what I'm essentially doing right here with and in this opening monologue tonight is I want to get you all into thinking and asking yourselves, are you doing all that you can, or are you sitting back just talking about the problem and having discussions about what's going on, but not really offering solutions, or not in the sense of not just offering solutions, but are you actually holding our elected officials accountable? So again, I asked the question of what's going on? What is going on? So coming up here on the show, I want to first begin by talking about an issue that is relatable to us all now, and we're all feeling it in our pockets at this very moment, and that is the gas prices. Gas is now $3.40. $3.40. I was driving to Walmart today, and I happen to be going to what a lot of folk here in Columbus call the Ghettoville Walmart, the Walmart on North Road in Easton. I needed something really quick, and I had to take my mother up there, so we were running in and running out of that Walmart. And as I was turning the corner off of Sunbury Road, I happened to look to my left as I approached Sunbury and Morse Road, and I looked to my left and saw UDF, and I saw the price say $3.39 a gallon for unleaded gas. And I looked at my mom and I said, well, damn. I said, damn, 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 damn. Some of you might be thinking and wondering why did you say, well, damn, 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 DaVante? Well, I said that because when I looked over at that price, my mind began to work and to think about all of those people who are robbing Peter to pay Paul, and who won't be able to make it to work because they don't get paid until the first. And the first is next Tuesday. And right now, as we head into the end of the month, and it's the 22nd, gas is $3.40. And they only have a limited amount of money. They only have about 30 to 40 bucks in their pocket, but they need to stretch that. And gas is $3.40. And it takes, when gas is at $3.15 or even $3.09 a gallon, it takes $50 or $60 to fill the tank up in its fullness. And gas is $3.40 right now. And I keep repeating myself so you all can understand the full gravity of this. One of the reasons why experts are saying gas is continuing to climb here, not only in Columbus locally, but throughout the entire United States, is because of what Russia is doing on the Ukrainian border. Now, what a lot of you will notice here on UnBossed Nightly News, and really throughout our news division, is we don't cover much international news because we aren't an international news outlet. We're a local news outlet. And in my mind, much like a lot of your minds, while I do understand, like I just told you a while ago, to every cause there is an effect, to every action there is a reaction. So because Putin won't play nice, the reaction is being felt in my pockets because I have to pay more for gas because he refuses to play nice with the rest of the world and with his next door neighbors. But the reason why I say that and I bring that up to begin with is because this is the time of year anyway, as we head on into spring, which that sure I don't know how many, it was just a few years ago, really, when we were paying $4 a gallon for gas here, or close to $4 a gallon of gas here in Columbus. I had family members hitting me up saying, "Hey, DaVante back during that time that lived in California who were paying $5 and $6 a gallon for gas." And I know we all have that saying that when gas gets to a certain point, we're going to park our cars and walk, but it never works out like that at all. And it's quite sad that gas is going up around the country because Putin won't play nice, and this is the time of year that it goes up. So because tensions are high around that's why gas is going up. And to further explain what I mean by Putin not playing nice, for those of you who don't understand where I'm going with this, who haven't been following that whole Ukraine and Russia story, and how we as the United States have to come in and be the man in the middle and break up the fight and put everybody back in their corners. Essentially, we have oil refineries and rigs in which we get oil from that is then turned into gasoline from overseas. Yes, we do have some produced here in the United States, but not enough because we are still relying on overseas oil. And as a result of what's going on overseas right now with Russia and Ukraine and Putin, our gas prices are going up. So, now that you understand that, and that's probably the simplest way to understand it, I need you all to now get that gas prices have literally risen like 12 and a half cents, almost 13 cents in just the last 7 days. In just the last 7 days. Here in Columbus, gas prices are up 30 cents from where they were when we entered into 2022. But what experts are telling me, and when I went out to research this story, what I found interesting was on Gas Buddy, what they were reporting and what their experts were saying is that Columbus, our gas prices are our local average, as I just told you, is $3.40, is still cheaper than the national average for a gallon of gas, which is $3.52. So what that simply means is the national average over the last year is up roughly 88 cents per gallon. So this time last year, let's do the math here really quickly. So this right now, the national average for gas I just told you is $3.52. Last year at this time, gas was 88 cents cheaper. So the national average this time last year was $2.64. The national average. And here in Columbus, if my recollection serves me correctly, we were only paying about $2.40 because I could fill up my car at the time that I had back then, a Nissan Serena '02 for $20. And I would brag about that hey, I can ride this $20 for a week, and I can fill up on E and go to full, which is $20. And then as we went through the year, that $20 quickly became $40. Then it became $50. Then it quickly became none because the car got wrecked. Somebody hit me. But nevertheless, gas prices have been continuing to rise throughout this past year because of inflation. But my question is, to all of our elected officials here locally that represent us in Washington, what are you going to do? Because your voters, this is affecting us personally. What can you do, and what are you going to do to take some of this burden off of us? Because it's either people can afford the gas to make it to work, and they make it to work on time, or they can't take their kids to school. And we want kids to be in school. We want folks to make it to work, but they can't do it if they can't get to work, if they can't drop their kids off at school. You see how all this goes right hand in hand? And I will continue to say, you've heard me say it multiple times already. For every cause, there is an effect, and for every action, there is a reaction. As simple as that. There is a reaction. Watch this space.
I believe that I haven't spoke to my father in almost a year, you know.
Let's go to Dayton, Ohio now, where the second mass shooting in the United States has occurred in just 13 hours.
Green, the year 2019 was the worst year I ever had in my life. At the end of May, my house was taken away by the tornadoes that hit Dayton, Ohio. The first day that I ended up getting out to hang out with my father, August 4th, 2019, mass shooter come walking down the side of the building and open fire, killing 9 in 32 seconds and injuring multiple people.
Newly released video shows panicked patrons screaming and taking cover in a nearby bomb.
Into purpose and power, I created my foundation, the Fudge Foundation. It stands for my father's name, Derek Fudge. It stands for Flourishing Under Distress, Giving Encouragement. I've been helping survivors get the resources they need. We are the ones that are still here living.
First of all, he might not have been able to go ahead and get away with that. Like all of our ancestors and shit like that, bro.
Because they was mad. Like, first off, there's a major snitch in the city of Columbus.
Absolutely. There's plenty of them.
Welcome to Cardwell Mobile Notary Service. I'm Leandra Cardwell. I run a full-service mobile notary company. We specialize in apostille, loan closings, structured settlements, and more. Wherever you are, I'll be there. Even in your home, I'll be there. At the hospital, I'll be there. Nursing homes, I'll be there. At the library, I'll be there. Coffee shops, you pick, and I'll be there. And yes, even remotely too, I'll be there. To submit a request on our website, don't forget to locate us on Facebook and give us a call at 614-999-0149, and I'll be there.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. So, man, I just can't get that Marvin Gaye song out of my head. And here we are yet again, still discussing what is going on. What is going on? Well, I can tell you right now what's going on is that, simply put, we are getting 39 Columbus police officers as recruits into the department. That's good, number one. But while we are gaining 39 new officers here in Columbus, we're still going to lose 100. And if my math is correct, we're going to still be down 61 police officers from where we are now. We're losing 100 for those of you who didn't tune into yesterday's broadcast or yesterday's show because of the buyout program. And so that's where we get the number 61 from, the difference. But when it comes to these new 39 officers that we are gaining, this is a very interesting recruit class. A very interesting recruit class. What do you mean by very interesting, DaVante? Well, what I mean by this is a very interesting recruit class is they have a lot riding on them as they come in to the job. They have a lot riding on them. Here in Columbus at the current time, we have a little more than 1,800 police officers at this current time that we are going to be getting this influx of 39 officers. But they have a lot riding on them because their now new colleagues took from us our princess, Micaiah Bryant. Their colleagues took from us brother Andre Hill. Their colleagues done that. Their colleagues also beat black folks like nobody's tomorrow during the protests. Not only did they beat us, they let out this chemical agent spray that I've never. It like literally burned your body from the inside out. Never had anything like that ever sprayed or happened to me before, but that happened back in 2020 on the protests. So they have a lot riding on them in this climate that their colleagues that they are gaining has set in motion, has put in place. They have a lot riding on them. But it is worth noting that out of these 39 officers that we are gaining, the average age of the officers are 29, and they span from ages 22 to 49. And with an additional 23 officers plus our 39, they make up the 136 Columbus Police Academy recruit class. This this graduating class, is being touted right now from city officials as one of the most diverse recruit classes ever. Their words, not mine. 6 of our 39 new officers that we are gaining look like me and you. They're black. 3 are Hispanic. 9 are women, and 23% of the class. And that makes up just 23% of the class. And with that, 9 being women, it marks the highest percentage of women in the past 5 recruiting classes coming out of the academy into CPD, onto the force. It's the highest percentage of women. 9 women, 3 Hispanics, and 6 blacks. And this is the most diverse recruit class ever. One must stop and ask themselves, if we have to tout that this is the most diverse recruiting class ever in city history, what in the hell are we doing wrong that we have to tell people that there's never been this much diversity coming into the rankings of CPD onto the force at one time in the history of CPD? Now, I ask that question not like I don't know what the answer is. I ask that question being funny, being sarcastic, because I already know why before we never could have a diverse police class like this. Because it was the good old boys club. And for all you folks that don't know what the Good Old Boys Club is a group of white men, group of old white men. Well, they were young when they came in, but you get the picture. But the most diverse recruit class ever. You know what's interesting, even more, is that 15% of the class is black. I just told you 6 of them look like me, and you. That number percentage wise is 15%. And so, with 15% of the recruiting class being black, that matches the same exact numbers we had in the last recruiting class in July 2020. When then that was the highest percentage at the time of black officers that have ever went through the academy. And out of the rest of the minority groups, 8% of those recruits are Hispanic and other races. But still, they want to tout that 39 officers are more racially diverse than any other group of officers that have joined CPD in its history. As of December of 2021, so last December, there was only 9% of people on the force that were black. And ironically, out of that 9%, I probably know half of the black officers there. I can tell you that we lost, I believe, 3 black officers last year because they retired. One was a sergeant, and the other one was the sergeant's husband, and I know those 2 very well. And the other one was a regular officer, I do believe. But still, 9%. Well, I guess that's accurate, and I shouldn't be so upset or so pissed off, because the national average, when you are thinking of black people being in anything, is always right around 9, 10, 12%. Hey, but we got 9%. But the problem with CPD only having 9% black officers, my problem with it is that the division doesn't reflect what the city looks like. And I am not saying that the city is made up of more blacks than it is whites. No, I'm not. Because literally, I believe the U.S. Census, last time I checked, the latest U.S. Census numbers from last year that were taken and released had Columbus having 24 or 25% of the population being black. But yet only 9% of our officers. You do the math. And last year, only 11% of the entire personnel, not just officers, but even the civilians that work for CPD, just 11% were females. 11% in a city and in a country where females outweigh the males. In this latest recruiting class, which is the 136 recruiting class, 71% of these recruits and that are going to be Columbus police officers have some type of higher education, have some type of college education. I should be happy about that, that they have an associate's or something. And I am, don't get me wrong. A little more education never hurt anybody. And 41% meaning not one, but 4 out of every 10 of those 39 officers served in the military. I want to start off before I go any further by saying thank you to those officers who served in the military. Thank you to that 41%. I also, before I want to go any further, I want to put on the record that I do want to thank all of the officers, these 39 people, who are becoming Columbus police officers. I want to thank them because they're doing a job that obviously me, myself, and you don't want to do for whatever reason. I don't want to hear the excuses, but I do want to start off by saying thank you to them for deciding to put their lives on the line. And I want to say thank you to them before any corruption or the system could have any type of effect on them, before they take their first day on the job and they take their very first call. I want them to know us here at Nightly News and the entire UnBossed team and Black Columbus as a whole is first beginning by telling them thank you. Before we start complaining or start talking about anything, we're saying thank you to them. Thank you for doing a job that, quite frankly, we didn't want to do. Because if truth be told, I don't know how many of you all have ever taken a ride along with any officers here locally or in another city. I've taken quite a few ride-alongs with Wittenberg University Police Department down in Springfield, Ohio, as well as the Springfield, Ohio Police Department. And let me just tell you that literally when you're pulling anybody over, no matter your race, ethnicity, or whatever, there's a little bit of an adrenaline rush because you don't know what you're walking into. Now, when you're walking up on a black person in a black neighborhood, obviously you do know who you're walking up on, and the rest is history from there. There's no need to even talk about, because history provides context for how the story ends a lot of times with that. But I did want to begin by saying thank you to them. 9 out of these 39 officers are married. 5 of them are parents. What Council President Shannon Harton said to these recruits on their graduation day is that he, and I quote, he was asking each and every one of the 39 of them to be a part of a shifting culture. He went on to say that, and I quote, residents must see our police officers beyond the badge as folks who are a part of our community and want to keep them safe, unquote. Well, Council President, I believe one of the ways that we will begin and be able to see the men and women who wear the badge in law enforcement as part of our community is when they start living in communities in which they police. You know, one of my favorite TV shows, when I get the opportunity to watch it, is SWAT. And in SWAT, it's based in Los Angeles with their most elite team, the the 20 Davis Squad. And out of the 20 Davis Squad, it's made up of 7 of LA's finest. And out of those 7 finest, over half of them live in the communities in which they police. But what struck me as interesting with the show is that in about the second or the third season, one of the officers decided to buy a house in what's deemed as the hood and to revitalize it as a way to help get to know the community and to bridge that divide. And with them building that home, he invited 2 of his partners to come and be roommates with him. And then they quickly fixed up the local park right down the road from them and began interacting with the kids in the neighborhood, and thus changing the whole cycle and the whole image of how police are viewed. Let me put it to you this way. When I was at Wittenberg in Springfield, when I entered in, we happened to be getting a new police chief at the time, and I was able to form a pretty good working, and I even like to think a personal relationship with him, because this was at the height of Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown and Freddie Gray. And we had done a lot of protesting on campus too, because a lot of the protesting was led by yours truly. So we were going to protest and we were going to fight the power. But with that in mind, I began to form a relationship with him, and we began working on a plan and changing the policing culture this year there on campus alone. And it was all about community policing, and meaning that Wittenberg was his own city in and of itself. We oftentimes describe Wittenberg as having the bubble, meaning a bubble's placed around the university perimeter, and you really don't go out of it unless you really have to. And so, with that being said, yes, officers had cruisers and things like that, but he required officers to spend if they had an 8-hour shift, at least 6 of those hours out of the cruisers, either on bikes or walking around campus, getting to know students in either the residence halls or the common areas, such as the student unions or the library, having conversations and building those relationships. So then there wouldn't be that lack of trust when we needed it. And I think with the help of some organizations out there last summer, with the block parties, CPD tried to begin to do that. They tried to begin to do that with the help of the nonprofit and all of our good friends over there who make that nonprofit possible, Starfish Assignment. They came on scene and they began to do these block parties. It started with 4, then they added a 5th one, and I believe even a 6th one. I went to all of them except one. They even had one that they threw on at the last minute on my birthday, July 28th. I was able to bring my family to that one in particular, and they landed the helicopter. And I just became a big kid at that moment, because I've never quite seen a helicopter land in person or been up on a helicopter. So that was a good experience to experience, even if it was a police helicopter. But what I'm trying to get across at that point is that Starfish Assignment was working with CPD, and they are a non-profit organization made up of officers and things like that, and law enforcement. What they were trying to do was help bridge that divide, and for that amount of a little bit of time, I believe it did bridge the divide. And here, let me tell you why. And I know my story isn't for everybody, and isn't the same as everybody's, but in my case, it actually saved my mother's life. Let me tell you why. In August of last year, literally 3 days before, 2 days actually before the first day of school was to begin. So we're talking the last week of August. It was a Monday. My mother had drove up to get my younger siblings, well, my sister in particular, some shoes for school. And now she's coming back down Sunbury Road. She passes out. What we now know is she had a pretty massive seizure. And as a result of that seizure, and this was happening while she was driving, my sister was able to get her pulled over, and my sister's 13 years old, able to get her to pulled over to the side of the road. And as my sister got her off to the side of the road, she happened to see a cruiser coming down Sunbury Road. And so she waved that cruiser down. Now, what she didn't know as a result was that those two officers, Officer Lutz and his partner at the time, Officer B, because I don't want to screw up his name at all, so I'll call him Officer B. Officer B and Officer Lutz, she knew him and had had good interactions with them thanks to those block parties and me taking her and my other two siblings who are twins to those block parties. They knew Officer Lutz, so when he got out the car, they not only seen a person, an officer in a badge, but now they had that personal connection. They knew the officer, and he knew them, and so that made an already tense and crazy situation go a lot smoother. He was able to move. Get my mother out the driver's seat and into the passenger seat, and get her off the main road into a store parking lot. And while waiting on an ambulance, the squad to get there, they were able to contact me and my aunt for me to get there. But while all of that was transpiring, he didn't have to do it. And I'm not saying this changes my view one way or another. I'm trying to share with you all this story to tell you that there still are good police officers out here in Columbus. And with these 39 officers that we are getting, we have a chance for them to be more like Officer Lutz and his partner. We have more of a chance now than we did 3 years ago. We have more of a chance for them to look like and be shaped and molded in that image of wanting to be an officer who protects and serves a community, no matter the color of their skin, and willing to have a conversation with them before they're willing to run into a situation and draw the gun and then pop, pop. Now we have another unarmed black person dead that didn't need to be dead. We have a chance now more so than ever, but we still have a problem. We still have a problem with inside of the division. And it's a big problem. And it's the culture of what was once acceptable and deemed as good policing really shouldn't have never been acceptable to begin with. But hey, when the good old boys are running the show, you get where I'm going with that. So, to these 39 officers, if you're out there watching this, if you're out there listening to Nightly News tonight, know that we thank you for your service, but that we are going to hold your asses accountable. Because that's our job, that's our duty. But not only are we going to hold you accountable, we're going to ask that you keep your commitment to the community first. We already know a whole lot about you. 71% of you went to college. 5 of you are parents. I know how many of you are military veterans. I just told you all of that. So it's going to be our commitment to hold you accountable, but we need you to make a commitment to us to keep community first and to not just rush into a situation shooting and pointing with guns ablazing first. We're back right after this.
First of all, he might not have been able to go ahead and get away with that, fighting all of our ancestors and shit like that, bro.
Because they was mad. Like, first off, there's a major snitch in the city of Columbus.
Absolutely. There's plenty of them.
Sometimes your life won't turn out how you planned it. It turns out how you work for it. How you wake up and you chase that dream every single morning. It's what you give your time and your energy to that takes you to the next level. And that's royalty. You see, many of us believe that just because our father was a drug dealer and our uncle was a drug dealer, that is our life and that is our forever. But I want you to know something. That is only a lesson to show us to be something more. It's a mentality. Roses can grow in the projects if you take care of the soil. It don't matter how big the house is, baby. It's the love inside of it. Take care of your community.
Come back. We're talking. I just realized how many, just in the first two stories tonight, we've talked about and we've covered here. This has been some pretty heavy shit. And yes, I said it's been some pretty heavy shit. Well, sadly, the news is heavy sometimes. We don't cover all that fluffy, nice, nice feel-good stories because the news is important and it's real shit going on that we all need to talk about that's affecting us and affecting our pockets and affecting us in the voting booths. And that's never been more truer than this next story that we are about to talk about. And that, and I take a moment and I pause and I laugh right there because as I'm trying to figure out which of these stories that I want to go to, that segue like rings true for like all of them, which is very, very interesting to say the least. So, man, and it gets more heavier too. So let's go with this. Let's go with Columbus City Schools. They're trying to put on the ballot right now something called a facilities master plan that I think all of us should be educated about what it is and what they're going to be asking. So I want to talk about that and take you through that very quick, or I shouldn't say quickly, but in a short span of time. So what they are proposing is the possibility, if the levy they're going to be putting on the ballot here later this year, is that they are going to want to build 19 new schools by 2042. And that's part of this facilities master plan that was presented before the Board of Education at the beginning of this month. 19 new schools built by 2042. 19 by 2042. So over the next 22 years, not in the next 5 or our kids, I don't have any kids, so I'll say my siblings, my youngest siblings, anyways, or your children can benefit from them. And we kind of need them now because I don't know the last time y'all checked, but cause an old elementary school. Year after year, we are here talking about stories about how our kids go into the restrooms at cause alone, and the stalls are so small, or the ceilings are falling apart. That's just that one school. And cause is supposed to be one of the top academic schools within our school district. Hey, I'm just telling you what the facts are. So right now, currently, Columbus City Schools has 112 schools. And out of those 112 school buildings, they have the capacity altogether to hold 59,119 students. Now check this out. We're about to do some really quick basic math here. So while they have the ability, those 112 schools, to hold 59,119 students, the enrollment for this year was somewhere between 46 and 48,000 students. So roughly 10 to 12,000 below capacity. I was reading the Dispatch article a couple of weeks ago. I believe the article came out on Valentine's Day, so last Monday. And in the article, a guy by the name of, his name's going to come to me, Alex Trevino, who is supposed to be the school district's director of capital improvements. He told the Dispatch, and I quote, I have it here in my notes, and I quote, the realization of this community-led recommendation will require a reduction in the total number of school facilities operated by the district. So what they are going to be doing, I told you they were coming to us to ask for some money from us for our property taxes to go up. I'm going to get to the money portion that they're asking for in just a second. I'm telling you now, when we get to the money part, don't be pissed at me. Don't. I'm just reporting. I'm just engaging in a conversation and reporting the news, reporting the facts. Y'all keep allowing these folk to stay on school board and not do shit. Hey, it is what it is, and the definition of insanity the last time I checked was to continue to do the same thing over and over and over and expect a different result. That's insanity, and yet we are expecting a different result. But that's neither here nor there. So he said it's going to require a reduction in the total number of school facilities, school buildings. Just told you they have 112. So out of those 112 facilities, they, out of all of those that have been renovated and replaced since 2004, so over the last 18 years or so, through the previous master plan, only 46 were renovated and replaced. So let's do some quick math here. And I want to get the number right. That's why we're going to go to the calculator tonight, because I don't proclaim to be the math guru, but I always want to get the record right for you all. So 46 divided by 112 is 41%. So only 41% of the school buildings have been renovated or replaced over the last 20 years. To put this into a bit of context for you all, and to show my age, because I'm not afraid, I'm 27 years old. In 2002, when they first started to implement and to begin renovating and renovating these buildings, I was in second. I was in second grade in 2002 when this all started. The discussion board started. But when the actual building board began to take place in 2004, I was in fourth grade going into fifth grade. So at the time, they asked us for $392 million, and we gave them $392 million. They came to us in 2008 when Obama was on the ballot, and they said, hey, look, we know a few years ago y'all just asked, we asked y'all for $392 million, but we need another $115 million to complete the project. So we gave them another $115 million, totaling a little over $500 million. And so now what they're telling us is that 66 buildings range in an age from 45 to 127 years old. And out of those 45, I'm sorry, not 45, but out of those 66 remaining buildings, they are recommending that 19 be rebuilt completely. And those 19 new buildings be added over the next 20 years. And Trevino told the dispatch, he was like, look, I want to set the record clear here. I want you all to understand that there will be no net addition to the number of school facilities that the district will be operating. We'll still be operating the same 112 school buildings. We just want to build 19 new ones. And out of those, out of the 66 that need to be renovated or rebuilt, we want to build 19 new ones. So now that we understand where we're coming from, let's get to where we're going. What is the facilities master plan? What is it? So what it is essentially a committee that is recommending to the school board that we build 6 new high schools, 6 new middle schools, and 7 new elementary schools. That's what they recommended to the school board in the beginning of this past month, in the beginning of February. In their recommendation, they said that there would be more than 1,200 students at each high school, 800 plus students at each middle school, and over 600 elementary school students at each elementary school. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I never went to a high school, and I went to Mifflin High School, y'all. I went to Mifflin High School. I'm proud that I went to Mifflin High School. But there weren't 1,200 students at Mifflin High School back in 2012 and 2011 and 2010 and 2009. There just weren't. Now, one could make the argument that, yes, the city's population has significantly increased since then. We now have over 1 million people living here in the city. So when these buildings are completed, it's safe to say we'll have another, in the next 20 years or so, another 20 to 30,000 people living here who will have, I'm sorry, not 20 to 30,000, but 200 to 300,000 people living here in the city. So, with that in mind, we need more buildings. And with those buildings, they need to be bigger. They just simply need to be bigger. So more students can come through. Now, let's do some work with math here. Currently, because I just told you there were barely 300 to 400 students and there were 300 to 400 students when I was in high school, in the school building, even in middle school, when I went to Monroe Traditional Middle School, which is no longer there, on Monroe and Mount Vernon in the Trevor Heights area. And for our elementary, I went to Arlington Park, which is no longer there, which was off of Mock Road. There were never more than 500 students, 600 at the most, in any of those buildings combined. Right now, the district is reporting having an average student population of only 595 averagely in all of its individual high schools at one time. 406 in its middle schools and 301 in its elementary schools based on data. Now, the school board president Jennifer Adair, said that consolidating students into newer buildings would help the district provide more academic rigor as well as more athletic and arts opportunities for students. We know averagely right now that to build a new school building based off of the latest build, which was probably Afrocentric, it cost a little over $20 million or so to build a campus like Afrocentric. And for those of you that are not aware of Afrocentric, it sits a little down from the airport off of James Road on Allegheny Avenue. And Afrocentric is a K through 12 high school. It's not what they're proposing, but they're proposing designs probably when they get to that phase. But they're proposing buildings similar to Afrocentric here in the future, in the next 20 years, that they want to build with this new facility master plan. So y'all probably should know the cost. And with that, because Jennifer, the school board president, said it's their hope to consolidate the students to provide more academic rigor, in her words, not mine, and more athletic and more arts opportunities, we need to know the cost approximately of each building in each campus. So if it's going to be modeled after Afrocentric, and we're going to get a whole athletic center and a field house and a football field and a state-of-the-art track field, that's going to cost somewhere between 20 and 25 million. Now, keep in mind that that project was completed about 3 to 4 years ago. Now, when they build these, and they're building these over the next 20 years, that price could very well double. Now, keep in mind at the same time that they came to us in 2004 and asked for 300 million, a little over $300 million. And then the school board came back to us and said, hey, look, we're running low on money. Could you spot us with another 100 or 115 million, possibly? And so we spotted them with another 115 million in 2008. And so totaling a little over $500 million that we gave them to implement this last facilities master plan. So if they're wanting to build or replace 66 new school buildings over the next 20 years, and keep in mind the inflation prices back then, we gave them $500 million in total. We're probably going to need to give them realistically $1.5 billion now. So, literally 3 times as much because materials are much more expensive than they were back then. And we know that just from the cost of everyday living. And we know every 20 years or so, we got to build in for that inflation. Adair went on in the meeting as this was after this was presented to her to say having fewer buildings allows a more targeted and condensed approach, and we don't have to spread resources so thin. But let me tell you what happens when you bring, and this has already kind of happened, when you bring a Mifflin and an East High School and a Linden together. I'm not saying this is going to happen. And a Northland and a Beechcroft together, and you create one big Columbus North High School. Now, Houston, we got a problem. We got a big fucking problem because you already thought fights and things were going on because they were gang related and all this X, Y, and Z other stuff. Now you bring in all these rivalries and things like that into one campus. Man, I don't know what to tell y'all. Now, the culture could change over the next 20 years, but I doubt it, and it would be very ignorant of me to sit up here and think that if nothing changes, to expect a different result, to expect change, and nothing's really changing, but you putting them all in one building. I'm just trying to keep it 100 with y'all. So to be quite, it just wouldn't make any sense. To condense. It makes sense now. It makes sense financially and financial wise. It makes good business sense. And here at UnBossed, yes, we are a corporation and we have a fiduciary responsibility to investors and things like that. Just like the school board has a fiduciary responsibility to board members and their fiduciary to voters rather. And the fiduciary responsibility to voters they have is to make sure the money that we give them or give them when they come to us for our tax dollars is being used in the appropriate way. So yes, they do have a fiduciary responsibility to us as voters because we elect them. So yes, they do have a financial fiduciary responsibility to us. But just because they have a fiduciary responsibility to us doesn't mean that this plan is going to take 20 years to come to completion is going to make any sense at all. One guy at the meetings who was presenting and part of the conversation said at the school board meeting, it's not about closing a building, it's about providing opportunity to these young minds so that they can truly select the path that will align with their skills and how they aspire to be more than where they are. Now, my question to you all, or not even to you all, my question to him is, have you walked a mile in any of these neighborhoods with these schools and like really got immersed in a Mifflin High School, in a Linden McKinley, in an East High School, and then thought it was a good idea to condense and only have 6 high school buildings? I just told you it makes good business sense, but everything that makes good business sense doesn't make sense just because it makes good business sense. So this plan, this proposal, this facility master's plan, as it's been, it's going to need to be approved by June, and is actually is expected to be approved in June, and it's going to be in the ballot in November. And this first school building is slated to open, barring everything goes as planned. If we choose that plan and this ballot initiative in November. The first building's slated to open in August 2026, with the plan coming to completion somewhere between 2040 and 2042. Now, this guy who got up and spoke, he said something that kind of like really like pissed me off. And I quote, he said, "If life is about you, I think you fell. It's about the future. The best gift you can give is to provide an opportunity for those behind you to be successful in the future. That's the fundamental value of life." Well, the best gift I can give to all of the students to come right now is the ability to not only get a good education in a decent school building, but to also go to school and be safe. That's the ultimate best gift we can give them. That's the ultimate best gift we can give. And with this whole new plan of consolidating students into these new school buildings, it's going to result in a bunch of vacant buildings. And they're going to need to do something with those properties, but and something they're going to need to do is potentially sell those properties, those school buildings. And even the school board president knows the district has struggled with that in the past, with this past facilities master's plan. She said in the school board meeting, in the past, the market hasn't been hot, and we kind of just let buildings sit and sit for sale. And that's kind of been the way we've handled getting rid of our property, is we just let them sit and sit and sit. And if they sell, they sell, and if they don't, they don't. She claims that it's an issue that is very important to the board. Now, whether families and what I will say is this: that everybody who's going to be directly impacted by this facilities master plan has had the opportunity to make public comments and things like that. Did they know how to do it, or did they even know the facilities master plan was being discussed? That's a whole nother topic and a whole nother story to cover and for conversation. But something needs to change, and while we do need new buildings, we need a better plan for not just the future, but for today. We continue to look into the eyes and then to gaze into what and to wonder what tomorrow is going to look like, and to wonder what could we do that's going to benefit tomorrow versus what can we do today? What impact can we have on students and on families' lives today and the here and now? But we're so worried about the future. And my aunt passed of COVID last week. And when I stand up at her funeral on this coming Saturday, her funeral is going to be packed out. Her homegoing celebration is. And it's going to be packed out because her life's philosophy was about how she could serve and how she could lead folk and how she could love the people and how she could have an impact on the here and the now and not about the legacy and about her legacy. It was about the impact of now. And to all of the board members out there, I get what you're doing. I understand why we need the facilities master plan and we need it to pass and you need us to spot you some more money. But what are you going to do in the here and the now? And everything that's going on. What are you going to do in the here and the now? We're back right after this.
I believe that I haven't spoke to my father in almost a year, you know.
Let's go to Dayton, Ohio now, where the second mass shooting in the United States has occurred in just 13 hours.
Green. The year 2019 was the worst year I ever had in my life. At the end of May, my house was taken away by the tornadoes that hit Dayton, Ohio. The first day that I ended up getting out to hang out with my father, August 4th, 2019, mass shooter come walking down the side of the building and open fire, killing 9 in 32 seconds and injuring multiple people.
Newly released video shows panicked patrons screaming and taking cover in a nearby bomb.
Into purpose and power, I created my foundation, the Fudge Foundation. Stands for my father's name, Derek Fudge. It stands for flourishing under distress, giving encouragement. I've been helping survivors get the resources they need. We are the ones that are still here living.
First of all, he might not have been able to go ahead and get away with that, fighting all of our ancestors and shit like that, bro.
Because they was mad. Like, first off, there's a major snitch in the city of Columbus.
Absolutely. Just put him.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Wow. All I could do is say, wow. Because there's 2 more stories we have to talk about, and I don't want to pivot to them, but we have to talk about them. So hey, let's just go for it. The criminal justice bill right now that's making its way through the state house is a pretty interesting bill. So it's a roughly 1,800-page document, and between you and I thought about printing the bill off in its entirety and having it here as a prop, but then when I realized the costs that it would take up to print this bill off in its entirety, I said I better not do that just for prop's sake. But what this bill attempts to do is what is called a catch-all attempt to try to accomplish all the major changes, from big incentives for prisoners to earn early release to some smaller tweaks and clarification. This criminal justice reform bill, I'm not going to lie, I haven't read it in its entirety. I've skimmed it, but I've only read in detail literally the first 70 pages or so, because it's very, very tense. And what I mean by very tense is it's a lot in here. And I'm reading this document electronically. What a Republican state senator, Nathan Manning, had to say about this bill is it's a package of reforms that is trying to save us, the taxpayers, money, and it's allowing for us to focus our resources on addressing violence and crime in our communities. Now, when he told the dispatch that, and when I read that in the dispatch, when he said our communities, the first thing that popped into my mind was that when you say our communities, you're really talking about not communities that look like you and that looks like me, but communities that look like him when he says our. So let's make our way through Senate Bill 288 and what it could potentially do. So it's calling for giving incarcerated people time off their prison sentences if they have completed programs like rehab. It's also making it easier to sell or expunge criminal records and reducing collateral sanctions that often make it harder to get jobs after a conviction. So if you have a family member, or even if you have been convicted of a felony, you know how hard it is to get a job as a convicted felon. I'm just keeping it 100 with you all tonight because folk don't want to hire convicted felons for one reason or another. And they're not wanting to hire convicted felons. These people who happen to be convicted felons for whatever reason or whatnot, who are trying to get a job so they can provide for themselves. When they can't get a job, guess what? They resort back into their old ways of making ends meet and hustling and bustling. So, something else that the Senate Bill 288 is doing is that it is going to or would require judges to release offenders if the state prison system recommends it. And prosecutors can offer a convincing evidence or compelling evidence that early release would pose substantial risks to society and to the public. Early release. So already, to recap before we go any further, I've told you that it's calling for giving people who are incarcerated or going to be incarcerated time off their sentences if they've completed a rehab program. Beneficial to Black folks. Making it easier to expunge or to seal criminal records. Number two. Number three, reducing collateral sanctions that often make it harder to get jobs after a conviction. Number four, it's going to require judges to release offenders if the state prison system recommends it. Now, that could go either way. It could be good for Black folks or bad for Black folks. I'm not going to lie. But now what scares the hell out of me about this bill, because while this bill has a lot of good shit in it, has a lot of good shit in it, this bill has some scary shit in it too. Because this bill would also allow for county correction officers to carry guns or firearms, as they're called. But it would also, in addition to allowing them to carry firearms, it would specify that they could only carry firearm. Let me back that up, so you can better understand it. Let me rewind that and put a break on it and a pause, and so you can understand that. So, what I just said was that this bill would also allow county correction officers to carry firearms. But in addition to them carrying and being allowed to carry weapons, it's going to specify in the law that body cam footage from all of these state prisons be available as a matter of public record. And it's going to let jail inmates use the internet to communicate with their lawyers or the courts. As I told you, for every cause, there's a reaction. So, look, right now, state prisons and state jails, they don't have to give up the body cam footage, even if they do wear body cams, because not all of them do. But it would only require them to do that if the part of the law, or part of the bill rather, passes that allows them to carry weapons. But in addition to that, all the inmates now would be able to use internet to communicate with their lawyers in courts. They're already able to, if they have the ability to use the commissary, they have the ability to communicate with the public and whoever they need through JSOC or JPEG. So last year alone, I think it's worth noting that there were a couple bills signed into law that took effect that were supposed to address, and some of them do address, criminal justice issues. One being banning life without parole for juvenile offenders. The second being prohibiting capital punishment for people who suffered from serious mental illness at the time of the crime. Number three being increasing options for drug treatment programs in lieu of criminal convictions. And number four, allowing people to regain their driver's license by doing community service hours if they can't afford to pay steep fees. So in a nutshell, that's Senate Bill 288, which is trying to do everything from, and as I told you, this has been 5 years in the making, and it's trying to do everything from removing stigmas from ex-convicts here in the state to allowing corrections officers to carry weapons. Or let me be more specific, because their batons are weapons. To allowing corrections officers to carry guns. That's the criminal justice reform we are going to continue to keep an eye on, making its way through the State House right now. It's currently in the Senate in the form of State House Bill 288. So, we've saved, there's an old saying that says, you saved the best story for last. Well, this isn't the best story we saved for last. It's probably the most hot topic story I will say I've saved for last. So today I was reading the Dispatch, and yes, I keep up with what all the competitors here in the local media market is doing, whether it's the Dispatch, Columbus Live, or 610 WTVN Radio, or 98.9 The Talk, or whether it's Channel 4, 6, or 10. I keep up with them all, even NPR, the local NPR station. I keep up with them all. And I was reading the Dispatch, and Theodore Decker, let me just say, I've been loving the hell out of some of his columns and commentary he's been giving over the past few months. He's been taking City Hall and the police department and a lot of folk to task in his columns, saying a lot of good stuff. And today he wrote a column that is very interesting about how House Republicans just passed new protest-related laws. And they just voted on this last week. And what they voted on, the House Republicans, last week, was to create new riot-related crimes, as they say. And with these new laws around new riot-related crimes, they are saying that they are meant to protect peaceful protesters, law enforcement officers, and property. And in this column that Theodore Decker wrote, second sentence out the gate that he writes was that he's curious about this. Well, just like Theodore, I'm curious as hell too about what they mean when they say that. So, my curiosity is wanting to know how much protecting of the people are they really going to be doing, and how much protecting of the property are they going to be more worried about. I find it interesting, just like Decker, how there are already current laws on the book here in Ohio and in Columbus, but more so in the Ohio Revised Code to do all of this, but yet they put more into law. And this is the party who refuses to recognize that January 6th was an insurrection. They refuse to recognize it, but they say what happened in downtown Columbus was done by a bunch of criminals, thugs, and murderers. and so on and so on. They're talking about us as black folks. One would hope they put these laws into place to truly protect the people, but we know they didn't because there were current laws already on the books to do this. You know, I find it interesting how the GOP likes to say, we don't need more laws and regulations and rules on the books. What we need to do is we need to enforce the laws we already have. But yet they continue to pass new laws like this that are already on the books. You know, it's interesting that this bill that is now law, it was House Bill 109 to be exact, and the title or the working title of the bill, which is now becoming law, was to increase penalties, certain criminal offenses, peace officer suits. Basically, in a sense, the long meaning of that is they wanted to revise the Ohio Revised Code to increase penalties for certain assaults, vandalism, and riot offenses, to allow peace officers to bring civil suits against persons participating in a riot, and to prohibit bias-motivated intimidation of first responders. Y'all didn't catch that. So let me break it down here. What they want to do and what they are now have successfully put the laws on the books and this state to do is they have made it a law now to where if it is deemed a riot, and we now know a protest or a riot is deemed based off of what they passed in the law last year, if anybody a gathering more of 3 people is now a protest. And so what they are saying now is that peace officers, because in the state of Ohio, we don't have police officers technically based on the Ohio Revised Code. There are peace officers. So based on the Ohio Revised Code and calling them peace officers, that is going to allow our police officers, allow our law enforcement now to bring civil suits against anyone participating in what is deemed a riot. And it's supposed to prohibit bias motivated intimidation of first responders. Yet another racist bill. So essentially, what this bill does at its best and at the end of the day is it creates new felonies, including riot assault and riot vandalism, and it increases penalties for misdemeanors such as disorderly conduct when committed during a riot. Now, why the hell is any of that needed to begin with? Because I don't know the last time a riot happened in the state? Well, yes, I do. They deem the riots in Cincinnati, and I believe 2002, they call those the race riots. And I don't see that in Cincinnati in '02 being a riot either. I see that as being a protest of the people who were sick and tired of being oppressed. So, I think we all need to understand at this very moment what riot assault means. So, riot assault is defined as someone recklessly causing physical harm during a riot. And what that definition, it is considering that offensive, uh, and in that case, that would dial the offense up to a fourth degree felony instantaneously. And check this out. Oh, it gets even more fucked up as this progresses. They say if the officer has serious harm, physical harm placed on them, that they're going to charge you with a third degree felony if this happens during a so called deemed riot. So in Ohio, we already have laws on the books. We already have laws on the books for regular assault. And for those of you that don't know what that is an assault is if you cause any physical harm to a victim. But we already have laws within that law that makes it a fourth degree felony if you physically harm a police officer or any law enforcement, whether it be firefighter or a police officer, with a fourth degree felony and a minimum of a 1-year prison sentence. But yet, we continue to elect these races as people to the state house. And we have the opportunity this coming November to bring about change. But the only way we are going to bring about change is that we get our asses out and we vote. We get our black asses up off the couch and we march to the ballot box. Because if truth be told, we don't want to go vote and we don't feel like we should vote because it's not a general election year, meaning it's not a year where the president is up for election. And I come to tell you right now that these local elections, whether it be here on the city level or on the county level, because the county commissioners are up for election as well as state reps and state senators, and the United States Senate, we have a race open, as well as congressional races and the governor's races up. All of these races are just as important as the president. And not only are they just as important, they are more so important because they have the ability to impact us each and every day, more so than the president of the United States does. But y'all don't want to have that conversation about how y'all don't want to go to the polls if it's not a presidential election year. But then y'all want to sit back and bitch and moan and complain when we have bills like this being passed into law by the GOP. Well, or I shouldn't say we, because shit, I get my ass up and vote because I had too many ancestors and too many family members whose black asses died for my ass to vote, whose black asses not only died for my ass to vote, but they marched for my ass to vote, and they got their ass beat for me trying to vote. So yes, I take my black ass to the polls every election and every primary because it is my civic duty. And not only is it my civic duty, it is my moral and my constitutional duty that my ancestors fought for. So I am asking you, and I am imploring you, and I am telling you, if you are so-called really sick and tired of all this racist shit and all the shit that the GOP is doing here in the state of Ohio alone, putting more racist bills in the Ohio Revised Code, then you need to get your ass up and vote. You need to get your asses up and vote. And that's the show for tonight, everybody. Go vote.